Really? What do I look like? Mhm. So we talked about that yesterday. Is that right? Wow. So, hey everybody, good morning. How are we all doing? Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, Jesus, help me. Hey everybody, how's it going? Too much in the light, huh? Is that better? Oh Lord, it's not gonna do that to me. So how are we all doing? Good morning. How are you? Thanks for joining. I look like my sexy librarian self, don't I? Do you like the look though? Don't you think it's cute? Don't you think it's cute? I remember when I was growing up, right? My mom used to like a singer named Rod Stewart. So you know how you're a child and so you're impressed, it's very you're easily impressed, you're impressionable, as they would say. And I thought Rod Stewart was the thing. This guy pranced across the stage wearing tight white jeans. Well, who isn't going to my teenage self going to, oh my god, right? And he sang the song, if you want my body and you think I'm sexy. Good times. Good times. And I remember my mom saying to me, oh, are your books sexy? Good morning, Michelle. I remember her saying, are your books sexy? How about your grades? If they're sexy, then you can sing that song. So I would just go in my room and play the radio, right? And back in those days, we had a cassette deck. So everybody just made tapes of songs and just tape the radio. Hello, Tommy12. Welcome. This is your first day to Periscope. Thank you for joining us. Right? So today we're going to talk about run, live, and love. Right? Yesterday we talked about the morning after and had quite the conversation about what happens the morning after. And much to my chagrin, just as I talked yesterday, there was a mass shooting right after on the University of North Carolina. Is that it, where it was? And I don't know much about it because I have learned to not pay attention to it. So it's not that I'm being. Are my grades sexy? That's a good one. Yes. Can you imagine? She was like, if you and I'm singing, you're a teenager. And she's like, make sure your grades are sexy. So today my children obviously those songs are tame compared to what the kids listen to today. Have you ever heard the song? I the other day I was, you know, after a while you become sort of numb to it. You just tune it out. But I was driving down the street and one of my daughters was playing something, and I said to her, "They really talk about it, don't they? They really do go into it. Like they're describing how sex is. They're describing what they do. They're describing how their body part work during sex." And I'm like, I get the feeling the person singing this song is really not enjoying singing it. They're just singing it because that's what the studio tells them that makes money. So there's no mystery to it. No wonder the kids today are like, "What is sex?" And I'm gender fluid. I don't know. I guess they have to be because everything is just so out there. There's no mystery. When we were growing up, the thing was there's this mystery, and the mystery kept you entertained. But in today's world, everything is just out there. So everybody knows something, and so it's just wild and crazy, and I don't even know what they do. Sometimes I wonder if they have sex. I kid you not. Sometimes I wonder if they actually do have. I wonder. I'm like, what do they do? Because they talk about it so much in the songs. I'm beginning to wonder if do they actually do it, or are they just talking about it? Do they actually say it? Do they actually? Don't you guys wonder? You guys don't think about that? I mean, have you listened? You don't believe me? Go listen to. And I listen to gangster rap because it has that driving beat that just makes me, especially on those days when I need an extra verve to get up. It's just like, and I have a million things to do to get through to, and I'll just tune. I'll just play gangster rap all day. I have the, you just go in the app and click on shuffle, and you just do 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 do, and all I'm listening for is the beat. I'm like, wait for it, the beat, the beat, the beat. I kid you not. I love music, and I listen to all types of music. I listen to music from everywhere. But I think they kind of just, they should leave a little bit to the imagination. It makes you wonder, what do they do? Because if they talk about it so much, then when they actually get to doing it, no wonder we have such creepy stuff going on, because they're not they're overly stimulated. Is that it? They're overstimulated. So there's no mystery. So it's just like, oh, okay, that's what it was. They kind of kill the anticipation. For us, it was all about the anticipation. It was all about getting there and the road to getting there. For them, it's just like, oh, I went there already. I don't need to. Okay, is that what you're gonna do? And then they pull out their phones and start texting, and then everybody's just like, and you're like, I don't know how much longer there will be human beings left on the planet, because everybody's watching their phones. I saw somebody put up something on Facebook yesterday that I thought was hilarious. She said she went home and she unplugged the modem that brings the Wi-Fi to her house. And she said, man, she said she saw people coming out of rooms that she has never seen before. I was like, if you want to get some activity, let the Wi-Fi go down. If you want to get some activity, let there be like a power outage or something, and nobody can stream anything, and the Wi-Fi is down. That's when you start seeing people. That's when people start talking. Trust me, I don't think they might not be having as much sex as we did. They might not be actually having sex. They're probably simulating it. Like, they pull, oh, Drake just posted something. Oh, while they're having sex. So that becomes the thing. Hence, their relationships tend to be very transient, because there's no depth to it. What kind of depth? Why do you need depth when you have Netflix and Snapchat and all the other apps? Why do you need that, right? So I'm just saying, it's just a commentary on what life is like today. It's crazy. So today I want to talk about run, live, love. And I'm wearing a shirt. It's inspired by this shirt I'm wearing, this top. No, don't shoot the messenger. I bought this. I've been wearing this now maybe about 4 years. And I wore it one morning to go into like a Panera or something. And I had on, you know how you wear your yoga pants? And you know me, in the summer, and during summer, I live in Michigan. So in Michigan, we wear like 5 layers of clothing most of the year. So when the weather turns warm, we tend to do our thing. You know what I mean? We tend to enjoy the feeling of the air on our bodies. So when it gets a little warmer, people are practically naked in Southeast Michigan, all over Michigan, right? So I'm not one of them, but I trend close to it. So I was wearing this, and I walked into a Panera one morning to get, your morning beverage. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. And it probably explains why I haven't worn it much since. And this guy, I don't know, it was early in the morning, maybe like about 8, 9 o'clock or something. And I don't know if he had just woken up and his girlfriend had left him or whatever. But he looked at me intently. And then he said, run, huh? Love, huh? And I said, yeah. And he was staring at me. So after a while, I realized that it's on my blouse. So I looked at him, and he said, I'm just reading your shirt. It's all across your shirt. And when he walked away, a woman said to me, he was just looking at your boobs. And I was like, darn it. I was just like, can a girl just be a girl? I said, I just put on a shirt and wearing I just want to feel the air on my skin for a bit. But it goes to show how our attitudes have changed. And he's someone who is probably a millennial. So their generation view clothing as optional. Well, it started with us. But as time went on, so they are less inclined. They're freer in spirit. There's one thing I'll say about millennials is I admire their freedom of spirit. They're a lot more uninhibited in areas that we tend to be conservative about. And sometimes I think we have to let go of the strictures, and sometimes it's just traditions, yeah, traditional thought processes surrounding an issue that when you re-examine it in today's light, the light of today shining on it, it sounds so different. Which is in a lot of ways why we're having so many issues socially, is because the people who are accustomed to running things, not just politically, but even socially, even at work. The people who are accustomed to running things have been around for 70 years. And so the myself, this generation, myself, the people who are in our 50s, the 40s, 30s, and so on, we're coming and we're butting heads with people who have been doing this for too long. So their opinions and views have stagnated, have stopped, is a better word, right? Not that it has stagnated, but it stopped. And whilst there is a lot of wisdom in it, the point is that it's time for, sometimes you have to embrace new thoughts and new ideology. There's nothing wrong with that, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And for the life of the rest of us, we're trying to figure out why we can't. For instance, I wear braids. 20 years ago, that was socially unacceptable, right? And you couldn't wear braids to work. You couldn't wear braids to go out to social events. It was deemed as anti-establishment. And you had to conform to what the establishment finds acceptable, right? And so it imposed strictures on people. You had to find different ways to wear your hair, even if you wanted to wear it like this. Well, 20 years ago, I myself conformed to that idea because I was being mindful of what traditional thought was. So I wouldn't have worn my hair like this. But now I don't care. I wear my hair the way that makes me comfortable. For me, it's not a symbol of anything else, but it's my own personal choice. This is how I choose to wear my hair. For the life of me, let's not write a textbook about it. Let's not create a federal case out of it. You see what I mean? And so today, in today's world, what you're finding is that the old guard is rubbing up against the new guard, the new ways of thinking. That is why we're having so many problems socially, because there has to be a medium, a point at which new ideas are accepted. It doesn't mean you have to impose all of them, because some of them we definitely don't agree with, because we have to look at the long term, what is good for all kind of thing. But you can't be dismissive all the time, right? Let me see what someone else is saying. The beautiful good morning. Good morning, Tony Turner. How are you? Thank you. Next time, I'm going to use you, Tony Tone Turner, as my tongue cry. Next time I go somewhere, I'm going to make sure you come and introduce me. I like that introduction, right? But do you see what I mean? So in a lot of ways, I think our thoughts have to evolve. It doesn't mean necessarily that you acclimate to this thought process, but it does mean that I'm here, I am conscious, and I am listening. Whether or not I'm going to implement this idea is something else, but I'm listening. And I think that's why we're having so many social problems. Everybody wants to be heard. Social media has become a vehicle for the last 12, 15 years for people to let their voices be heard, right? So people can create their own movements, they can create their own chapters to voice their concerns or feel as if they have some control. All of it is really just an effort for people to feel that they have some control over their lives. And so they're trying to superimpose how they think. Now it becomes terrible when you kind of want to control how I think, right? And for instance, the way we talked about sexuality last week. I had a guy on my show who is homosexual, who was a former male sex worker, and who classifies himself as a gay man, right? And even the way in which gender is viewed has changed. Now, I'm not an authority on it because I can't remember all of it. I can't tell you for sure what's a pansexual as opposed to who is a cisgendered person. I'm not sure that I have the classification. Yeah, we're living in a time of awakening information. I'm not sure. But what is apparent about that is that people are the change, and people are making the change based on how they view themselves. So there might be someone who was born a boy, but he views himself, he thinks of himself as a girl. So he wants to not just dress in his bedroom that way, he wants to walk out the door that way. And he wants to be treated that way. And he wants to be classified that way. Similarly, the same thing for a girl. She's born a girl, but she wants to be a boy. So she walks that way. She wants to be treated that way, and she wants to be classified like that. People are the agency of change. And so where social change intersects with tradition is always a friction. It's not just here in the US. In fact, the United States has seen its fair share of a social revolution in the 1960s, right? It started then and it's continuing even now because now people are shaking up. They're like, I don't want to conform to this. In fact, you find that a lot of millennials now don't even care about working because, number one, they graduate college with a 4-year degree, they come out to work, and you want to pay them $15 an hour and they still have student loans to pay. And when they go into the field of work, there are people who should retire who are still holding tightly onto those jobs. How many people know that? Right? You walk into some environments and everybody in there, you're looking like, why is there no new ideas in here? Well, we don't need them. Really? You don't? Okay. There are no new, everybody in there should be retired, or you have worked long enough. You should have some money put away. Give it the job security to younger people. In a lot of places in this country, some communities are dying. Some middle class communities are dying because people simply can't afford to live there. Why? They're not earning the salary. Families can't afford to move in because they are not earning the salary to pay a mortgage and a car note and pay the responsibilities of a home in those communities. So who lives there are retired folk, people who have lived there for 30 years. Their children are grown and gone. The children are living in gentrified urban settings, or they're living in places they can afford because, frankly, they can't afford it. And this is a social dilemma that's taking place across the country. I'm wearing a sweater because I didn't put on a top, so my shoulders are a little cool because it is cool here. Why? I don't know. It's 42 degrees. I don't know why. I don't know why. No, I don't know. But so when you look at it, there's this bubbling up, right? This social change that is bubbling up. People won't shift. There are some baby boomers, for instance, people born after 1945 who are still working. Can you retire? Can you go so other people can get the job? They're working as CEOs, they're working as vice presidents, they're working as directors of things. Give it up. Let somebody else come in. So young people graduating from college with a 4-year degree can't find work, can't find meaningful work. Can't find, no matter what their degree specialization is in, they can't find meaningful work. And when they do find work, I'm going to go to college and you're going to pay me $15 an hour? I can't even pay rent with that, right? And so how do I save towards buying a house? How do I save towards starting a family? So those are social observances and observations of what is taking place. The conversations are not happening so much around them because they people my age and older tend to view it as not a problem. They don't see the big picture, right? Because they're holding on and you don't know what this economy is like. I can't ever retire because I am my mortgage is so high because I took out a home equity line of credit. And so they're holding on tighter than the Titanic, and people are unable to move. So Here comes the revolution, the social revolution. People want to change. So people say, well, if I'm going to be paid, I can't afford to go to Macy's or whatever to go shopping. So in my online portal, I can find a number of stores where I can get a whole outfit to $25. I can't pay $500 for a suit. I can't pay $250 for a suit because I'm not earning that kind of money to do it. So when you see it, it starts changing the face of the society, right? You look at it and you start realizing that's why a lot of these stores are going out of business, because the people who have the money, they're not walking into a store. They're shopping right here. Everything is on Instagram. It's a click away. It shows up on your Instagram feed. You click on it, order it. It comes right to your door. Finish. Argument is over. It's done, right? And so people over 50 are like, well, now it's time for us to take a look at it. A little too late. The revolution started. We should have been paying attention. And when other folks like myself were talking about it, you dismissed us as if we didn't know what we were talking about. Nothing is ever going to change. Nothing. Even look at the way our country is being run right now. It's being run by white males who are over 70. How are they ever going to listen to us when we talk about things like women's rights? When we talk about things like men, I believe in parental leave. I believe if a man has a baby, his wife has a baby, his girlfriend has a baby, I think he should take family leave. If he wants to, why shouldn't he? Right? Why shouldn't he get family leave? Just like every other first world country does it. Why haven't we done it here in America? Right? When you think about those kinds of things, so you see what I'm saying? We need a new way of thinking. We need a new way of formulating what our opinions are and how those are going to be disposed of, and implemented. It's just simply amazing to me how people think so very differently in different generations, in different settings, right? You'll have a grandparent, a parent, and a millennial. And it's three completely different viewpoints. And when the millennial is trying to say something, the millennial is shut down and dismissed by the older persons, by the grandparent and the parent, which is representative of the society. No, I'm not saying that we should listen to everything they say, because some of the stuff they say, they need wisdom and guidance. But there's some things that we should pay attention to. For years, they've been talking about improving the infrastructure. Well, we have collapsing bridges. The bridges are collapsing because our cars are heavier. They haven't been maintained. Like, for instance, here in Michigan, we have a problem with the roads. The roads need to be fixed. They want to impose a 45 cents gas tax, which means my gas is going to cost 45 cents more. Hell to the no, right? And I'm like, so where's the money you guys have been collecting from the lottery and from renewing my tags every year? I pay $350 to renew my tags. How much you pay? And I'm like, so where has that money been? What has been done with that money? Do you see what I mean? So, we have to take care of stuff you don't know about. And then when you've said enough, then they stuff you wouldn't have any idea about, or stuff you would know about. Shut up. It's time for a change. I feel like a change is coming. I feel it, and it's a time for it. We need to start listening and engaging other people. We need to start incorporating other people's ideas into our conversations, into our discussions, and into what is the fabric of life, of American life. That is key. We need to start doing that. We need to start making people feel empowered and making people feel as if they too have a say, and what they say is equally as important as the person who is of a different color and who has more money. We need to make people, otherwise we're going to pay the price, right? And we're headed in that direction because we're not taking time out to listen to what people are saying. People are saying, I want a voice in this. I think I want to have a say in how this goes. At least listen to what they have to say. We don't have to agree. I don't agree with white nationalists. I don't agree with white supremacy. But I listen to what they have to say. Oh, so you feel like, is it because you feel if you have to be in control so that you never lose power, you never lose control or authority? Listen to what they have to say. Find ways that allow them to express themselves without being a harm to others. Okay, well, we can hear what you're going to say, but you can't go shooting up churches. You can't go shooting up people just because of the color of their skin. We're not going to tolerate that. But we do hear what you have to say. Now, do you have a constructive contribution to make Let's do that. Similarly, for Americans who are Muslim, right? We have to embrace that. We people have come here, and this is their culture. Don't be scared because the media says everybody who is Muslim is a terrorist. No, no. There are terrorists who are Christian fundamentals as well, right? There are terrorists who believe in. There are people right now terrorizing their own families. They're equal and just as terrorists, right? And they go to work every day and put on a suit, and their office is in the pen. Their office is on the top floor. So, and they're just as much a terrorist. They terrorize us with the kind of policies, public policies that come out in our cities, our towns, yeah, our counties, our states, across the board. They terrorize us, right? So the white nationalist over here who is trying to make a statement that he wants more control because he feels like his group of people have lost control. We need to hear what they're saying. We need to invite them to the table. And the Muslim over here who is saying, well, I feel kind of left out in this society. I'm a person, I'm a brown person, and I feel like they just ignore me, or I have to, when I go on a plane, I have to be the one who is double checked and so on. We need to hear it. We need to hear from Black people who say, well, look at it this way. We set this up 400 years ago. It's time for us to get back what we gave, our ancestors gave for free. We need to listen to that. We all have a seat at the table. We all should start listening to one another, because if we don't, and people feel as if they're not being heard, they're going to do something about it. And they are. It's slowly, but it's going to catch on. It's going to catch on, and it's going to build momentum. And that is where we don't want it to go. Right? So that's my spiel on why we talked about what we did yesterday. But so it is what it is, right? So we want to talk about run, live, and love. And run here is not necessarily the act of jogging. Anybody who knows me knows that I enjoy jogging. It's the ideal form of exercise. It's pleasurable. The high that you get when all your hormones and your endorphins are released, it's amazing. You don't need drugs, you don't need alcohol, you don't need anything to simulate that feeling of feeling good about life and feeling good about yourself. But that's not the kind of run that I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk about run as if you're running your best race. Let's face it, life is a race to the finish. None of us know when our end date will come, right? It's not as if we wake up today and we know that tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. on the 2nd of May, that will be your last day. None of us know that. We don't even know when our beginning date is. Your mother's pregnant. She goes to the doctor. The doctor says the baby's due on the 5th, but the baby can come before the 5th or the baby can come after the 5th. But one thing is sure, the baby will come, right? So what we do, so when you look at running, you have to set yourself up to run your life's race. Each of us has been given a race. Your life is different from my life. My life is different from yours. Your lane is different from my lane. My lane is different from yours. I have to stay in my lane, and I'm responsible for what is in my lane. It's kind of like running a race. You're running a 400-meter race, right? And it's your job to take the baton to the next person. You're not responsible for the person in the next lane, nor the next lane, nor the person behind you. You're only responsible to deliver the baton to the next person, right? That's sort of how your life is. You're not responsible for the outcome of someone else. You are responsible for your children. When you have children, your job is to raise them in such a way that they make the best choices. If they don't make the best choices, then it's not your fault. Do you see what I'm saying? You're in charge of a group of people. It is your job to run the company in such a way that it stays profitable and that people are safe and protected, right? But when it comes to the race of life, for what you have been given to do, you own it, and you ultimately are responsible for the execution of it, and you are responsible for seeing it to the end. Therefore, you have to run that race. That's the race that you're going to run. While you are running the race, you've got to live it. In some cases, you can't express yourself or you can't explain it until you live it. There's some situations that in order for you to be the overcomer or in order for you to be able to help someone else, you have to experience it. Last night I was on the phone with one of my sisters and we were talking, not my mother's children, my father's children. So I have two sets of families, two sets of siblings, right? So we were talking about my life. And when I outlined to her some of the events that took place, she said to me, wow, you are blessed indeed, because that's a lot for anyone to live with. And I am of the view, but she says you have a purpose and you have to fulfill it. Do you see what I'm saying? So no matter what the obstacles have been, I still have to complete my race. I have a race to run and you've got to run it. It's just like you. You have a race to run and you've got to run it. Whether your race is dropping a mixtape, whether your race is writing a book, whether your race is being the next John Singleton, or whether your race is just being the next Charles Schwab, whatever your race is, you could be the first man, the next Black person, the next white person to go discover a cure for cancer. You could be the person who is going to find a cure for eye disease. You could be the person who is going to find a cure for diabetes. Whatever your race is, that is your unique race. It has your name on it. It has your imprint on it. And based on the skill sets that you find that you have, that is what defines and determines the race you're going to run. So it's up to you now to examine yourself and to determine, well, what do I do with these skill sets? Some people are multi-talented. Some people have different sets of skills, right? Either you choose to focus on one, or you use all of them to amalgamate them all into the rounding off of one person. But at the end of it all, you still have to run that race. I don't have a choice. I found that I didn't have much of a choice in the process. I didn't have as much of a choice as I wanted to have. I wanted to have control, but it was not up to me. And so I had to run the race. Sometimes it felt like other people were in control and I just don't have a say in this, but I had to keep running the race anyhow. There were times when the road was very bumpy. I had more valleys than mountaintops. The mountaintops were brief and meaningful because it was a life defined by valleys. So when you get to a mountaintop, it was like, but get ready, because you have to go to get to the next mountaintop. You have to go through another valley, and you have to get to the next mountaintop. You have to go through another valley. So run the race anyhow. My thing is this. If like me, you might find yourself in a situation where you don't have much of a choice. For many years, I thought I had choices. I thought I could do whatever I chose to do. I found that I didn't. I had been given a series of skills, and it was up to me to use those skills to determine what I was going to do about it. I didn't have much of a choice. And so what happened was I decided that I was going to run my race anyhow. I don't know who this person is. They keep calling me on Facebook. Get away from me, right? I don't know who they are. You know, these, what they call bots or whatever, these random people just start calling you no matter what you do. I don't know why you see that I'm active, but you're calling me on Facebook, right? So, but you still are required to run that race. And in the meantime, I still have to live. So while I'm doing all these other things I'm doing, I have to still live the life that I've been given. I still have children, have a responsibility to myself. I still have other people I'm connected to that I must maintain those connections. So I still have to live. And I have to live my life in such a way that I don't get sick, so I don't invite sickness in, right? I have to live my life in such a way that I stay healthy emotionally, physically, and mentally. But you know, the thing that I found was the most challenging was love. I found that I was giving love to everyone else, but I rarely got love in return. And so it took me some time to accept that and understand that maybe I don't need as much love as I thought I did. Maybe I just needed to give love in spite of. So I had to come to a place where I had to love people, even when I didn't feel loved, even when no one was loving me, because the responsibility was mine to direct, instruct, and to teach. You have to learn what part of the role that you have to play. It's very important. It's a defining moment when you find your purpose. And it's even more defined when you know exactly what role do you have to play. So as much as I thought that having a spouse meant love and so on, when it never manifested for me, I couldn't stay stuck in that frame of mind, waiting for something to happen that probably was never meant to happen, that probably would not happen. I had to still run my race. And that was that an obstacle? Depending on your perspective, for me, it wasn't an obstacle. If I allowed it to be, it could have stayed there and I could have spent time viewing it and thinking about it. But instead, I moved forward. I kind of sidestepped it and went around it and moved forward. Sometimes that's how life is. In running your race in your lane, sometimes what you find is that there are obstacles. Either you go through them, some obstacles you can go through, some obstacles you have to tunnel underneath, some obstacles you have to build a bridge to go over, and some obstacles you have to go around. What I did with that one was I went around it, just kept it moving, right? So, because at the end of the day, I am still responsible to deliver based on my skill set. I still have to do it. And I want to see it through. I want to get to the end of it. I want to see if it is going to arrive at the place that I think it will arrive at, and I'll be fine. So I tell myself, I'm going to be fine either way, right? You have to, the first person that you have a responsibility to is yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. Do you hear me? Because many of us don't. We don't even celebrate ourselves. We don't even like ourselves. I'm not talking about when we mess up, when you're like, I could have done that better. Oh man, I suck. Major. You have to love yourself. When you love yourself, you will maintain relationships that are the best relationships for you. So people will come into your life, but you will tend to view it, if you're not here to uplift me, make me better, encourage me, support me, and love me, I love myself too much to allow myself to be defined by something negative. And you don't have to be cruel about it. You don't even have to be distant about it. It's just a conscious choice that you make, that I'm not going to engage in activities or being with people or being around people who are bad for me, people who make my life hell. There are some people who make our lives hell. I've had some folks like that, some family members like that. I've had to distance myself because they make living very obnoxious. They make living uncomfortable. Being around them is uncomfortable. So you have to learn to not let the discomfort of others impose itself on you. And if you have to stay away from negative people, I say that all the time. Negative people bring negative things. Stay away from them. Toxic people will make you toxic. If you continue to, for instance, you've been listening to me now for 4 months. Why do you continue to come back? When you are done listening to me, how do you feel about yourself? Tell me, how do you feel? Do you feel better? Do you feel good? Do you feel empowered? Or do you feel like world sucks? Life is down, man. I'm just going to go crawl under a bridge and stay there for the rest of time. Do you see what I'm saying? So if it is not making you be the best person that you can be, stay away from it. Because at the end of the day, you have to run your race. I have a race to run. When I get up in the mornings, I'm like, my children say I'm a morning person. No, I'm not. I really don't like it. I really wish I was rich so I didn't have to get up in the mornings. My day would probably start around 10. But my kids are like, no, Mom, you're not wired like that. I get up, I do my yoga stretches, and I'm like, good morning. That's what they say. They say, you are knocking on doors. You're like, good morning. No, I'm like sipping my tea and I'm ready to get going because I want my day to get to the end of it. Do you see what I mean? But they think something else. They're barely like, I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. And they're like, and to pull the covers over. At 7 o'clock, I'm like, we gotta go. We have things to do. Especially because I always have things to do. That's how I look at it, right? Now, because I have a race to run and I'm anxious and I'm curious and I'm eager. If your race is not making you anxious and eager and curious, re-examine if that's the race you're supposed to run. Sometimes we take on somebody else's cause and it drains our energy and it's not what we want to do. But you're doing it for someone else. And so it defines you, right? If for instance, when you come around me, I'm pretty sure you don't find that your energy is drained. I'm pretty sure of that because I think you find me entertaining, but you find me enervating. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to determine, well, what is this race that I'm supposed to do? Some of us think that our race is being a spouse, being somebody's wife, husband, or being a parent to someone, or just being a little worker bee. Maybe that is true for some of us, but I don't believe that I want to drink herbal tea and watch the sunrise every morning for my wisdom remedy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? But do you feel that that's your race? Well, you define what is your race. Find out what it is and find it out early. And it's never too late. You could just be 70 years old and just suddenly discover that you need to go live on a thing in Shanghai, on a commune or something in Shanghai. For the love of God, do it. If you feel that climbing Mount Himalayas is a challenge, do it. You want to go to Mount Kilimanjaro in Kenya? Do it. You want to go to Hawaii and go on the top of some volcano and look down on the do it. Whatever your race is, do it. But while you're doing it, live and love. Love the most important persons in your life, starting with you. Yes, you. I've told you my story that when I was going through abuse, that one of the ways that I coped with the dissemination of myself, because that it was disassembling myself. Abuse and violence, intimate partner violence, breaks you down the person, and it breaks you down from the inside. But one of the things that I found that helped me to cope was when he was done beating me up, no matter how I looked, no matter what he said that seemed to have been an attack on my self-esteem, I would go stand in front of the mirror and I would tell myself that I love me. And I would say, Harriet, I love you. You are the best. And you're not a fat cow. He used to call me a fat cow. I was like a size 4, size 6. I probably weighed maybe 130 pounds. I didn't weigh 140 pounds. Probably weighed 130 pounds. And most of the time, I was so skinny, my cheekbones were obvious. I looked emaciated all the time because I was so worried I could not eat. My stomach didn't work right. You see what I mean? So I assured myself and affirmed myself that I love myself. I told myself good things about myself so I could hear it. Many of us are listening to the wrong tune. We're listening to the wrong recording, something that happened years ago, and someone powerful in our lives at that time, someone who had power and authority, said something that we're still listening to that broken record. And that broken record is defining us and telling us that we'll never make it and so on. If I could write a book about maybe a handful of people, there was only a handful, like literally a handful of people who said I couldn't make it. Sucks to be them. They knew that it was a lie then, and the evidence today is a lie. But to whom much is given, much is required. I was given a lot. So my responsibility was to ensure that it be done in spite of those naysayers, in spite of the negativity around us. The news is sometimes very negative, right? TV is sometimes very negative. I forgot their thing was on, they're talking all kind of stuff, right? Right? So, in spite of all the negativity, in spite of the fact that you may have dropped out of college, in spite of the fact that they robbed you of that opportunity, you didn't get the promotion at work, you didn't marry the person you thought you should have married, whatever it is, all the negativity, people telling you it can't be done, will not be done, run your race anyhow. But love yourself through the process and live. Friends, We only get this one opportunity to exist. Nobody has come back yet to tell us that there is another way to live. It's all our imaginings. We're imagining that if we do something different, we will have a different outcome, but we don't know for sure because we have never seen it, right? So, as far as we know, this right here, this body, this is the only one we know. So, while you are walking in it, do it. I tell myself every time I walk into a church, I am grateful that I walk out. There's a place we all visit, the hospital. If you go to visit someone at the hospital, I am so grateful that I get to walk out. If you have ever been to a viewing at a funeral home, guess what? You are so grateful that you are not being carried out, that you get to walk out. Live with peace, live with honesty with yourself, and love yourself, right? That's my message for you today. Simple. Run your race, live your life, and love yourself, right? Thank you so much for joining me. It's been quick, sweet. It's Wednesday. We have a lot to do. Go live your life. Go run your race and love yourself and love others. Love the people around you, especially those who love you and those whom you love, right? Go live your life. Life is good. Life is good. Every day we get to breathe on this side of it, live it and love it and run your race, right? Thanks so much, everybody. Be blessed. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for joining me. Share this video. Share this video. Thank you so much. Be blessed. Mm. I am hungry. Mm. See how I wrap it up? Mm-hmm. Mm. Huh? Oh, you watch the dark colored ones with the light colored ones? No. No, I don't do that. What? Oh, they actually doing it? So they have it set up. Oh, brother. Oh, I'm late now. No, I have to get some. Put my robe on. Elaine is not going to Lansing tomorrow. I can't drive my car. I don't want it to go with Elaine because I'm trying to get her out of the house, out of the situation, and to regret because she's really missing her sister. She told me today that she's really having that time. I did. I think we're gonna do that next week. She said this week she's tired of, and she lives with Charlie. So Marie thinks that Charlie will not be moving out. She said once they move, they don't move away. She said it's very hard. Yeah, she said they don't move out. And I don't know. Elaine sounded very bad on the phone. She said she's gonna go to a National Day of Prayer in Sterling Heights tomorrow. That sounds like yes. Yeah, sounds like Elaine, you're not coping well. And I told her, I said the reason I wanted her to go, I said I wanted to get you out of the house and get you out of town for a little bit, just to take your mind off things. And she's like, "Oh my God, sweetheart, I never even thought of it like that." Oh, does that mean you can take me to my final tomorrow morning? Huh? Does that mean you can take me to my final tomorrow morning? What? Does that mean you can take me to my final tomorrow morning? So I'm gonna have to leave the car at the back. Yeah. What's it up? No, I haven't. Okay.
Is Dearborn nice? I saw that. Is that what that water? Yeah. Basement flooded. But they say everybody's basement is flooding. So they say I probably need to put a seal around my house so that the wall for the walls. But I've never heard of it. But they said that's what Cassandra had to do. Yeah, like it sounded so down. Really? Yeah. So I'll give her a series of projects to go work on. Okay. She doesn't care on here. I don't want that Charlie to have undue influence over her. Right. Because it seems like that's where that's going. Because it seems like, yeah. Because once they move in with you, for a peaceful life, they can't do without giving in. Yeah. Like for some, Florida next week with a kid, he invited her to come and celebrate Mother's Day with her. She decided to go to spend the night with her mother. She can't spend Mother's Day with her son. Mother's Day weekend, go spend it with your mom. You know, I left the thing in here for you to eat, like. Which thing? Oh, the food from last night? Yeah, that's it. But you're probably gonna eat that before we do this. What time do you go to work? 4. No, you can pick up Lisa. No, you can pick up Lisa and then yeah. Is that how I do it? Yeah. No, you want it? My shower, I'm not wearing it. Oh, why? Aren't you gonna shower? You don't, how do you shower? I put it in a bun because the shower cap isn't big enough to hold the whole bonnet so it gets wet. And it smells. Oh.